Hey, what's up? Quattro here for my new channel, The Ultimate Blooper, and today I'm gonna be showing you a quick tip slash tutorial thing for Photoshop beginners who are learning specifically photo retouching, because this one comes from my own personal need. And what we're gonna be doing today is turning something like this into something a little bit more like this. So this is going to be the final product. It's not going to be the final product as in tutorial. I'm not providing the images, but I'm going to provide the techniques of kind of creating this kind of style. Now what I did here is basically a simple fake depth of field. As you can see, the original was completely in focus and the new one isn't. So we're going to do that. And I know what you're thinking. You're thinking, hey, I know how to do it, just duplicate the layer, cut yourself out, and blur the background. Well, yeah, you're right for the most part, but if you're only gonna do this, you're gonna end up with kind of a halo-y image that doesn't look all that realistic. And I've seen a lot of these, and trust me, it doesn't look good to kind of a trained eye. And you know, what I'm gonna show you today is how to avoid all this bullshit, so you know you don't get haloing anywhere, which is kind of good, you know, because that haloing appears especially in high contrast areas, and it just shows that you lack attention to detail, which you probably wouldn't want to show anyone, now would you? So this is what we're gonna be doing today. So have your seatbelt on and let's get started. So what I did here is I kind of prepared in advance and imported the original image, which is high resolution, and this is plenty for us to work with. Now I do have to say this wasn't shot with the DSLR, so don't expect amazing quality, but for this purpose it's okay. So first things first, we want to cut ourselves out. And the way I did this was by using a matte. Now, why didn't I use a pen tool or a lasso or whatever? That's because I'm used to using mattes for the main part, but also when you're using mattes, you have a lot more control over how your edges look and all the other stuff. So to create a matte, what I usually start with is a new layer set to multiply, and because I set the transfer mode to multiply, I can basically use a brush tool to make necessary adjustments, right? And to delete that, usually just flick the color to white and wipe everything out. Easy enough. Now the layer isn't perfectly empty, but because we're using multiply, it's just, you know, perfect for what we need. So I'm gonna use that. Now since I'm only cutting myself out and the tank and my friend, I don't really need to brush everything manually. I can just use a lasso tool to prepare a garbage matte, which I'm later gonna refine. So you know, you don't have to be perfect, because again, you can always make adjustments. So let's just do that and fill with black. I'm not gonna show you how to create the whole full matte in this video. I'm just gonna show you how to do it, and you know, you can do this for your own images when you have the time. So but it's nothing complicated, just, you know, follow these steps and you'll be fine. So there you go, the garbage matte is in. Now for the finer details, for the barrel I used a polygonal lasso, which was very convenient. So you can basically just zoom in at a point, slide over, at a point, at a point, at a point, you know, and just basically go all the way there, whatever, fill it in, done. So that's what I did for the barrel, because the barrel is supposed to be kind of straight. So it's easier with the polygonal lasso. Now for the finer details like the shirt and all these kind of small gaps, I use the brush, and I own a tablet, so I'm not gonna draw with a mouse. And I'm using a 64-bit version of Photoshop, is because with screen recording, for some reason the 32-bit kind of lags and doesn't allow me to draw. But with the 64-bit it does. However, it doesn't recognize my tablet's pressure sensitivity with 64 bits, so I'm gonna have to trade that off for the ability to film this. So what I usually do is just, you know, take a brush and use a black, just kind of draw these fine details around the edges. You don't have to be too perfect. Now, I do advise you to work with as high resolution imagery as you can, because when you're using a high-res image in the first place to kind of create the matte, if you have small mistakes, it doesn't really matter, because when you're down-resing it, it's all gonna be fine. So work with high-res, then downscale. For matte creation, that's very good. It gives you the ability to have all the detail that you need. So basically you create a rough outline, then you use a bigger brush to kind of outline that outline, you know. If you make a mistake, you can always go back to a white brush and erase that. So it's kind of, you know, it's not that hard. So just kind of go over it and, you know, do this thing. Now I'm not doing this precisely, so don't expect much from this example here. But like I said, I'm not going to show you how to create the whole matte, because it would literally take probably half an hour, and my current YouTube account, this new one, cannot doesn't allow me to upload longer videos in 15 minutes probably. So I'm gonna need your support to kind of get subscribers and get verified, so to speak. So I'm gonna jump to a matte done, which is also resized and cropped. As you can see, this is the full resolution for this one. And I also have a matte which looks like this, which is very crisp, nice. And you're probably wondering what this is. Basically, I just took a kind of scattery brush, scattered some stuff over it, and used a simple smudge here to kind of lift everything up a little bit, so my grass mat part doesn't look flat like in most of people's imagery, and here as well. So that gives it a more natural feeling. So I'm just gonna start doing the whole composite. So I'm gonna hold Alt and drag to duplicate the layer, and I'm gonna turn off the matte for a second, and I'm gonna add a mask. I'm probably gonna use a mouse here because it's gonna be a little faster. So click on this button here, Alt click on it so you see the mask, and we're just basically gonna take a marquee tool, copy, Alt click on the mask, paste, and that's done. There we go. So that's perfectly cut me with kind of a little gradient cutting for the grass. Same here. And now if I just took the background as is and applied filter, blur, Gaussian blur, or whatever it is, as you can see, I'm getting haloing, just like I told you. I'm just gonna probably use 3.5. So I'm getting haloing, which you know, it doesn't look all that bad when you think about it. Maybe it's the look you're looking. Maybe it's the look you're aiming for. I don't know. So if it is, you might be okay doing that, but I'm not. So what I'm gonna do is I'm gonna duplicate that layer, which has a mask on it. I'm gonna hide the top one, and I'm gonna invert the mask. So I'm gonna select the mask and invert it using Control-I. So now the mask is inverted. As you can see, my matte wasn't very perfect, but it's really not that bad. Probably gonna use a little bit of smudge to get some of my face back. There we go. So this is the inverted matte. It's not finished yet, because if I use a Gaussian blur on this one, I'm gonna get transparency issues, which is basically the same as haloing. So how do we fix that? Well, first of all, we're gonna apply the layer matte, apply our layer mask. So now this image is seen as is, and I'm gonna use a smudge tool with this interesting brush here, and I'm gonna perform this kind of a amazingly delicate operation of smudging everything beyond the edges. I know it's weird, but just stick with me for a second, you know. I'm just smudging the edges in, and you will understand why in a moment. Let's just smudge these, smudging these.